We're going to go to two top storylines heading into next season. And Jovan, you're up first. Number one, will Luka 2.0 be the best in the world? Who are you asking that question to?
I'm just asking the question to the universe here. And I say will because I specifically chose will instead of can because I think he can be the best player in the world. I think the question for me is, will he be? So let's go back 2 years ago. Luka averages 34 points a game, 9 rebounds a game, 10 assists per game, and leads Dallas, the 5 seed, to the NBA Finals where they lose to Boston, who I think is one of the best teams of the millennium. Like that was a loaded team with all these wings and stuff that can match up well with Luka and Dallas. But that player to me was the second best player in the world behind Jokic, who I think has had this run here the last few years. But Luka could, if he gets back to that level, like could contend for being the best player in the league. He was third in MVP that year. So if he takes another step with this Luka 2.0, this new body and this transformation that he's undergone, and I think also being in a rhythm from playing in Eurobasket, like if he is the best player in the world, that to me changes the Lakers' ceiling. Maybe not in the regular season per se, maybe they're still kind of in that like 3, 4, 5 mix, but come playoff time, if he's the best player in the world, they have a shot against anybody, including OKC. So I think that to me is the biggest question of like, I think it always comes back to how great your best player is, and typically the best player in a series wins that series, as long as the talent is relatively close. So if Luka's the best player in the world, the Lakers can beat anybody.
You could help, you know who could help complement Luka? DeAndre Ayton. That's where you're going.
Is Ayton the answer? You know, I try as hard as I can. I still can't forget that Game 5 in the first round last season. Rudy Gobert, 27 points and 24 rebounds. The Lakers needed a center. I mean, obviously, Jackson Hayes didn't play 1 minute in that game. We didn't see him after halftime in Game 4, the rest of the series. And DeAndre, look, he went away for a couple years, kind of got lost in the center shuffle up in Portland. Not a real spectacular couple years up in the Pacific Northwest. But this is a situation where he is it's really setting up for him to be a prime performer like he was a few years ago when he helped Phoenix get to the NBA Finals. Then he had a big contract offer after that. He wanted to go to Indiana. Phoenix ended up matching it, and the rest is history. He hasn't quite been the same since that season. Both Luka and LeBron trying to feed him in that post, get him involved in pick and rolls again. I think he's going to have a nice season.
With all this talk about Luka, your next question, will LeBron remain top 10 in this league?
So I say will again because I think he can. We just saw it. He just finished 6th in MVP, 6th in All-NBA voting. I voted for him, first team All-NBA on that 5th spot, 5th in MVP on my ballot. So I think unequivocally LeBron was a top 10 player by basically any measure last season. But I think when we look at, again, the Lakers' ceiling, I think they need LeBron to be at basically the same level or as close to it as possible. Like, if we just say he was like the 8th or 9th best player, for argument's sake, this season, if he slips to like the 18th best player, it doesn't sound like a big slippage. But that, to me, I think also changes the Lakers' ceiling, where I think if Luka is a top 3 guy or maybe even the best guy, and then LeBron's also somewhere in that like 8 to 12 range, now you're cooking with something where you can maybe paper over some of the defensive questions we have or some of the depth questions we have with this roster. If LeBron's like 18 to 22, still a great player, still an all-star, still maybe even a third-team All-NBA guy, I think your ceiling is a little bit lower and your margin for error in a playoff series is a little bit lower. So I just wonder can he maintain that? I think he can, and there's really no reason to expect any slippage from him, but it is just fair to ask, you're 23, 41 years old. At some point, he's going to slip 3 to 5%, and if that happens next season, I think the Lakers' ceiling's a bit lower.
Defensive expectations.
Allie, how's that defense going to be? You know, if you go back to 6 months ago, the day of the Luka trade, think of all the people that the Lakers have lost since then defensively. Up-and-comer Max Christie, obviously Anthony Davis, Dorian Finney-Smith, lost him a month ago to free agency. So who's going to replace these guys? And the Laker defense really was struggling towards the end of last season. Marcus Smart, nice pickup. We'll see what he can do. Jackson Hayes, I like him back in a reserve center role, no doubt about it. Ayton, let's face it though, a better defensive player than Jackson Hayes. Not a great shot blocker. Can he improve upon his career average of 1 block shot a game? You would think so, you would hope so, since he is going to get plenty of time. So the Lakers, I'm sure, would love to be able to play him 33 to 35 minutes a game. There's not a ton of centers on the roster, but can that defense really hold up? Because I feel like Minnesota really ground down that Laker D in the playoffs.
The first 10 games of the season for the Lakers. The Lakers will open the season at home with 2 national TV games. October 21st, it's on NBC against the Warriors. Then the 24th on Prime, it's a playoff rematch against the Timberwolves. The first back-to-back of the year has the Lakers traveling to Sacramento and then returning home to face the Trailblazers. Then it's 2 more national TV games against Minnesota and Memphis. That Halloween game against the Grizzlies opens group play for the NBA Cup. Miami, Portland, San Antonio, and Atlanta round out the first 10 games. So let's start with opening night. Doesn't get much better. I feel like we say it all the time. LeBron versus Steph. I think at the end of the day, you don't know how many more we have left between the two of them. So to tip it off with these two, what's not to like?
Primetime matchup. LeBron versus Steph round, I don't even know at this point, 20-something, 30-something. But anytime these two guys face off, I mean, these are the 2 greatest players of the past 15 years, right? In their respective positions, 2 all-time greats. I think 2 top 12, top 10 NBA players of all time. So we've seen so many classic matchups between these two. And just Lakers-Warriors is always fun. You got NorCal versus SoCal and the Bay versus LA. And so I'm excited for opening night.
And by the way, later in the season, 8 months from now, they might be fighting for like a little playoff spot. I could see both these teams kind of fighting for a 4 or 5 seed in the West. Maybe a little higher if things break well for them. Maybe a little lower if things don't break well for them. But I think they're going to be right around the same little tier in the Western Conference. So why not start it off on opening night? Like you said, Allie, how many more times are we going to see Steph versus LeBron on the court? At least 4 times this year. And hopefully everyone's all healthy when these games do happen. And let's start in October on opening night.
We're going to start with the first 10 games. I'm going to get your guys' prediction after the first 10 games, and we will fact check you. We will have this. Brez, you'll be up first. Obviously, you've got a couple of T-Wolves matchups, some Blazer matchups in there. You've got the Cup games that are starting, which you know what that brings in terms of intensity.
Sure.
I think only 5 games versus the Lakers, or that they have in the first 10 are versus teams that were in the postseason last year. What do you have them after the first 10?
So unlike, I feel like the last few years, the first 10 games are actually kind of favorable for the Lakers. They're going to pay for it later in the year, aka basically an 8-game road trip for the Grammy trip, and some tough games towards the end of the season, late March, early April. But I think they go 7-3 to start the season. All right, I liked a couple home games to start it. I think you beat Golden State at home. I think you beat Minnesota at home. I don't think you beat Minnesota on the road or a little bit later in those first 10 games. I think a road game at Atlanta, keep in mind, this team was not really good on the road. So I'm not going to be too bullish on their road games early in the season until they show us that indeed they are much better on the road than they were last season. This team was so good at home a year ago, not as great on the road. But bottom line, the headline, the big picture nugget is that it's actually an easier start to the season in the last few years than I can remember, Jovan.
I think that's key, and I have them going 7-3 as well. So I think they're going to lose at Minnesota, at Atlanta, and then I think they're going to split one of the first 2 with Minnesota and Golden State. We have seen them have some stinkers on opening night. That's kind of been like a Lakers tradition going back like a decade or so. So I think I could see that potentially happening on opening night versus Golden State. But I think they'll start 1-1, then win a few games, lose at Minnesota, win another few games, and then lose at Atlanta.
So you've got them winning at Memphis. That's the one where I was like, you know what? Memphis obviously giving up on Desmond Bane, kind of blowing up the program, so to speak. I'm not sure they win that one. But yeah, the one right in the middle there at Minnesota, that's trouble. I think that at Hawks game late in that 10-game stretch, that's trouble too. And I'm not sure about that Memphis game right in the middle in the 6th spot right there. That could be tough for the Lakers.
It's not within the first 10 games, but Mike Trudell does a great breakdown of the schedule every season over on Lakers.com. And just one fun fact as we dive into the schedule throughout this show, the Lakers will travel 43,000 miles over the course of the season. But how about this? It's 1,000 miles less than a season ago, and it's 8,000 miles fewer than the most traveled team in the Western Conference.
Could be worse,
this year,
I guess.
which we know what the West looks like.
Now, the Lakers and Warriors, they spent the summer fortifying their rotations. The Golden State maybe spent more like the last week doing that, but LA adding a former #1 overall pick, DeAndre Ayton, Defensive Player of the Year, Marcus Smart. While the Warriors, they added a little bit more championship pedigree to their locker room. They brought in Al Horford to bolster their front court here. And it's pretty amazing that these two, right, Steph Curry and LeBron James, they have played a combined 40 seasons now in the NBA, and yet still the expectation for both of these teams, it's championships. And I think I would put them maybe in that second tier in the Western Conference, second, third, depending on where you put OKC and everyone to follow. How do you look at the way these two teams, how their summers went here, Coach?
Well, they both made a lot of changes. I go to Golden State, Malika, because I think about Jimmy Butler and the impact he had last year.
Yeah.
He arrives 23-8 with him. And in that time, most importantly, they had the #1 defense in the NBA during that stretch. And they were able to play through Jimmy Butler when Steph was off the floor, and their free throw rate went through the roof. Obviously, you look at what the Lakers have done. They added DeAndre Ayton and Marcus Smart, as you mentioned. But can those guys be available? They have not been available the last couple of years on their respective teams. But I'm excited to see how Steve Kerr uses Jimmy Butler first training camp and the addition of Al Horford, which I think is going to be a really important addition for that squad.
The number I was up there for their training camp just a couple of days ago, and the number that everyone around the Golden State Warriors perk is excited about is 23-8. That's their record when Steph, Draymond, and Jimmy were all on the floor together since Jimmy was traded to this team. Now, obviously, injuries derailed the rest of their seasons, and if ifs were fifths, we'd all be drunk. But when you're looking at the Golden State Warriors, they have a case to feel really good if they can stay healthy about their chances this year.
They do, but the 23-8 got them out in the second round. They're trying to win the championship. Now, mind you, Steph got injured. I get that part, but we don't know if they could have got past OKC with that roster that they had. And why I give the Lakers the slight edge. Look, both of these teams are going to be here come April, right? Both of these teams are going to be in the postseason. I give the Lakers the slight edge because they have a third option offensively in Austin Reeves. We don't know who the third option is for the Golden State Warriors. Is that going to be offensively? Is that going to be Kuminga? Are they going to rely on Buddy Hield? That's the question. And so when I think about Jonathan Kuminga, I think his ceiling is high because Buddy Hield is one dimension, right, when it comes to his three-point shooting and his shot making. But Jonathan Kuminga could get buckets in so many ways. And so, Coach, I'm coming to you because I want to ask you, it's about Steve Kerr and Jonathan Kuminga repairing or getting that relationship on target. You dealt with a similar type of personality of Michael Porter Jr., right? Remember when y'all made your championship run? You benched him in the fourth quarter because certain player was playing well. How would you manage that situation if you were Steve Kerr in that locker room with Jonathan Kuminga?
Well, yeah, I think it's such a great point, Perk, and it comes down to communication. Steve's come out and said it. That communication is key. Him and Kuminga have a relationship, but they got to sit down in the room. And right now it's a battle between Steve Kerr saying, this is what we want, and then Kuminga saying, well, this is what I want. And that they have to find a way to marry that and merge that, because you look at what Jonathan Kuminga did in games 2, 3, 4, and 5 in that second series against Minnesota. Steph Curry got hurt. Kuminga became a focal point and showed out. They didn't win any of those games, but can he find a way to step up and be a part of this team off the bench? And most importantly, Steve said it. If he defends, he rebounds, and he runs, he's going to play.
Right.
If he does those things, he's going to have a greater chance to go out there and help impact. And I feel, as you mentioned with Michael Porter, I think Kuminga closes a lot of games because he's too young, too athletic, and too talented for them not to.
And you need that third option. Every team that didn't win a championship in the last, 5 years, Aaron Gordon was our third option. You know, last year, Chet Holmgren, you got to have that third option off.
And Jimmy Butler can take over a game with the best of them, right? We have certainly seen that. Kuminga, of course, he agreed to this 2-year deal with the Golden State Warriors, but all expectations are this is a contract that is very, very tradable. Everything, though, with the Golden State Warriors, it comes down to Steph Curry beginning his 17th season, miraculously, somehow, in the NBA. So Steph is the all-time leader in three-pointers. He has scored over 25,000 points in his career, and he's already penned the resume that makes him the greatest Warrior of all time. He's the team's all-time leader in points, assists, threes, and steals. And Coach, I imagine that the night before you had to coach against Steph Curry, those weren't your most restful evenings, right? No sleep. That was team no sleep, right? But the one deficiency for Golden State, even in their championship dynasty years, it was always kind of their big man, Draymond Green. He revolutionized basketball because of their small ball. So this year, they have a little bit of a different look and feel. Why?
Well, they've added a proficient three-point shooting big man in Al Horford.
Right.
Champion, high character, culture. Steve Kerr talked about it. They haven't had this spacing 1 through 5 in a long time.
Good point.
And I think what Al's ability to stretch the floor, he's shooting 40% from three last 3 years in Boston, and a big part of them winning a championship. And I just want to show you a video right here. This is a play that Golden State has ran for years. Their 5-out action.
Okay.
They're going to play in the post. You have Steph Curry initiating the offense. He's hitting the ball to Quentin post, and they're going to play through Draymond Green. Great facilitator, 6 assists per game in his career. And now here's this split screen. Steph Curry has been coming off the screen shooting threes his whole career, but now you can see in this play as he cuts, you can see both defenders are down the floor. And just imagine, this is Quentin Post right here, Malika, but now putting Al Horford, a guy who made over 100 threes last year, the number of wide open shots that he's going to get is going to spread out their offense and make a really tough offensive team to guard even that much harder.
Yeah, especially when you look at the numbers, right, of what this matchup really made in heaven, as the graphic says.
Well, it's really interesting. Steve Kerr historically has not been a big pick and roll coach.
Yeah.
They haven't had maybe the players. You can see last year, 10 total pick and rolls with Steph Curry.
But then,
now you're adding a guy last 10 years who's one of the most prolific pick and pop bigs the game has seen. So I think this is a match made in heaven. I know Steph Curry has to be really excited. And I want to show you one more clip here, Malika, that's going to show you Steph Curry coming down in transition, Quentin Post setting the drag screen, and you see right here, Steph's done his job. He's got 2 defenders on him, makes the right play, and whether the shot goes in or not, just imagine Al Horford knocking down shot after shot after shot.
My question there is obviously it's preseason action, so it's still kind of early and there's a lot of players missing, but what were your overall thoughts on tonight's game?
I thought we competed for parts of the game. There were a couple stretches where I thought we matched their physicality the second quarter. But the first quarter, and I would say the start of the third, I think we struggled a little bit to compete with their physicality and to kind of just play with the same pace that they were playing with. It's first preseason game. Obviously, it wasn't going to be perfect in any way. I feel like a lot of us, the legs weren't there either. We were a bit slow, short on the jump shot, stuff like that. But little things that we're going to easily be able to work out and get over.
Last one from me there. Austin started off red hot there in the beginning, kind of initiating the offense. What did you see from him early on in that first half?
Yeah, that's what he does. That's what Austin's role is on this team, is get buckets, facilitate for the rest of the players, and he did just that. Yeah, that's kind of just is what he does.
Yeah, and Jake, I know the result wasn't what you guys wanted, but how did you feel about the chemistry? I know it's building towards better. What did you see tonight with that aspect?
Yeah, again, the training camp was really all we had to get used to playing with each other and certain lineups and stuff like that. And again, we had some guys out tonight, but I think for the most part, I thought it went pretty well. I think we're all going to click. I think we're all going to play really well together. We all complement each other really, really well when we're out there. I thought Vando did a really good job of setting the intensity on the defensive end, guarding their perimeter guys. Austin obviously facilitating. Rui did a really good job tonight. DA being a force inside. Jax. I thought for the most part, we'll fix everything that we're supposed to and get better.
Hey, Jake, I know LeBron and Luka obviously didn't play tonight, but in your first taste of action, what did you kind of see about what your role could be offensively on this team?
Yeah, kind of a little bit what I showed tonight, and I know I'd been saying it all training camp whenever I was getting interviewed, media day, all that stuff is kind of I just go out there and play hard, and I feel like I had a couple plays out there tonight where you kind of saw what that meant. But as far as complimenting those guys when they're playing, spacing the floor, shooting those threes, being able to connect pretty well, reading closeout, stuff like that, and then just crashing the glass. I like getting offensive rebounds, helping on the defensive glass as well, and then just guarding. And again, I was probably a little bit slow tonight, this first preseason game, but just got to get my win, and we'll all be good.
Just connecting with that no Luka and LeBron, but we saw a lot of Ayton screens, and with you involved in as well as a screener there, how'd you feel? Did you feel like that was creating advantages even if you guys weren't able to fully take advantage of it by scoring? But did you feel like you were kind of creating open shots on the weak side, kind of with that pick and roll pairing?
Yeah, I think we have really good actions. Obviously, it's always going to be different when you're playing against opposing teams and you're not just playing against each other in practice, because we know what we're doing. And different teams have different schemes. DeAndre's a huge person, so obviously he's going to be able to get guys open, working on like Gortat screen, stuff like that. I think that's going to be really, really good with him and Austin, and then Luka obviously when he's back playing, and then just like when I'm screening or Rui or DK or something like that, just being able to ghost out and kind of read stuff like that, it definitely helps. So yeah, I think we'll be good.
JJ Redick, Lakers taking a cautious approach with LeBron James ahead of his 23rd season. The Los Angeles Lakers officially kicked off training camp on Tuesday, but one major name was missing from the court: LeBron James. Head coach JJ Redick explained after practice that LeBron is dealing with a minor nerve irritation in his glute, and given that he's heading into his unprecedented 23rd NBA season at age 40, the team is taking a deliberate and careful approach to his ramp-up during camp and preseason. It's probably going to be a longer runway leading up to opening night, Redick said. We're in uncharted territory here. After talking with the staff and with LeBron, we all agreed he may have pushed a little too hard in last year's training camp. And for me, as a first-year coach, having his full buy-in was incredible. But this year, we're being more methodical. He's got 22 seasons of wear and tear, and right now, he's dealing with a slight nerve irritation. So we're thinking long-term. There's really no blueprint for what LeBron is doing. No one has ever played 23 seasons in the NBA at this level. But what Redick is doing now is learning from how things were handled last season and adjusting to make sure the Lakers have their leader healthy and ready for the stretch that truly matters, the regular season and beyond. You're going to hear me say this a lot. It's uncharted territory, Redick emphasized. There's no roadmap for a player who's logged this many minutes, carried this much responsibility on both ends of the floor, for this long. We asked a lot from him last year, especially early in camp, and now we're working together to find what truly works best. The good news? LeBron is fully aligned with the plan. Everyone, from the coaching staff to the medical team, is on the same page. Still, there's no confirmation yet on whether the plan includes LeBron suiting up for any of the Lakers' 6 preseason games. It'd be great if he did. Of course, Redick admitted. We'd love to see it. But if not, we'll make it work. While seeing LeBron in preseason action would certainly help build chemistry, especially alongside Luka Doncic and the other new starters, health comes first. The Lakers are making it clear, this season is a marathon, not a sprint. LeBron on training camp plans. We'll figure it out. When LeBron James spoke at Lakers Media Day, he echoed Redick's approach. It's all about being smart, not rushing, and staying engaged. We're still figuring it out, LeBron told ESPN when asked about his camp and preseason availability. Of course, I want to be on the floor as much as possible, but we all know where I'm at, physically and mentally, and the coaching staff knows it too. We just want to make sure we're aligned when the time comes to step on the court. This is year 23 for me. I've made huge strides this off-season. I've been training all summer. But even when I'm not on the court, I'm still locked in. I'm tuned into everything we're building. That's what matters most. As training camp progresses, the Lakers' approach with LeBron has sparked discussion across the league. While some fans are eager to see James back on the court as soon as possible, most analysts agree that the team is making the right call by managing his workload from day one. Inside the organization, the message is clear: preserving LeBron's health and effectiveness over the course of an 82-game season, and potentially a deep playoff run, is far more important than a strong start in October. The decision to ease him in slowly isn't just about his age, but about sustainability. The Lakers are building their strategy around maximizing his impact when it matters most. Beyond LeBron, this also gives new head coach JJ Redick a valuable opportunity to assess the rest of the roster more closely. With James sitting out portions of training camp and potentially the preseason, younger players and recent acquisitions are getting extended reps in practice, a crucial factor as Redick shapes his rotation and offensive system. Reports from camp indicate that Redick has already started experimenting with lineups that don't rely solely on LeBron initiating the offense. That includes more touches for Luka Doncic in primary ball handling situations, as well as a larger role for supporting pieces like Austin Reeves and Rui Hachimura. The hope is that, by spreading the responsibility, the Lakers can reduce the physical burden on James while improving overall team fluidity. LeBron's role off the court has also taken on new importance. Several teammates and staff members have noted how engaged he's been despite limited on-court participation, constantly communicating, observing drills closely, and offering feedback to younger players. It's a continuation of his evolution into more of a mentor figure, one who still leads by example but also understands the power of his presence and voice in building team culture. Around the league, other teams are taking notice. The cautious strategy mirrors what the Spurs did in the later years of Tim Duncan's career, or what Miami has done with Jimmy Butler in recent seasons, prioritizing long-term readiness over short-term gains. In LeBron's case, the stakes are even higher. Not only is he still playing at an elite level in year 23, but the team around him has been reshaped to support one final push toward another championship. As for LeBron himself, he remains focused and optimistic. Speaking briefly to reporters after Media Day, he emphasized his commitment to doing whatever is needed, whether that means leading on the court, guiding from the sidelines, or stepping back when necessary to ensure his body holds up for the full campaign. The question now becomes how this slower ramp-up will affect the Lakers' early season performance. Will the chemistry develop fast enough? Can the team find its rhythm without relying too heavily on James in October and November? And when he does return in full, will the calculated patience pay off? One thing is clear, the Lakers and LeBron are thinking bigger than just the next game. They're thinking about April, about June, about legacy. And in year 23, every decision matters that much more.